Joining us is Adam Creighton, columnist at The Australian. Adam, thank you so much for joining us and welcome home. You spent years in Washington, DC. Have you ever witnessed such a rapid change that we're really seeing take place right now?
No, look, certainly I haven't. I mean, not in my journalistic career of 13 years at this stage have I ever seen such a flurry of change in such a short period of time. I mean, the COVID era, of course, was pretty spectacular in 21 and 2020, but this is pretty intense. It's not just in the health field, of course, it's in economics, it's in foreign policy. I mean, Trump is just this extraordinary historical force, if you like, who, by the way, 2 years ago was completely written off. But of course has had this spectacular comeback. He's now president and he's been in office a very short time and just done an extraordinary and controversial number of things.
Absolutely. We're seeing that right now. Just yesterday, Donald Trump announced that he sees US ownership of Gaza as a long-term prospect. Now, he made those comments during his first meeting with Israel's Prime Minister, and he sent shockwaves around the world. Adam, is Trump serious about this? How do you see this playing out?
Well, look, it's very hard to know. I mean, certainly the announcement was absolutely spectacular and historic, and I think very few people were expecting it, and I think half the world is still trying to digest it. But look, if we just go to a week earlier, or a few days earlier with the tariffs on Canada and Mexico, there was a lot of fanfare and they never happened. So this may be something like that. It might be an opening gambit to get a broader agreement in the Middle East amongst the Arab nations and also Israel. But certainly, I think, I can't see it happening personally. I think it's going to be very, very hard for the US to take ownership of Gaza unless it wants to endure loss of soldiers. I mean, there will obviously be terrorism if they try to take it, and it's going to be very, very difficult to forcibly remove 2 million people or 1.7 million people. So I think it's a very difficult task. And of course, it goes against what Trump actually ran on, which was, to pull the US out of foreign entanglements. This is the complete opposite, of course. And so you do see on social media and amongst his base a lot of disappointment in this announcement.
It's interesting you mentioned the tariffs. So I thought of that as well, that it's just a couple of days after Trump made those announcements about threatening tariffs of 25% to Canada, to Mexico, and then just shortly after that announcement, Trump essentially got what he wanted. Mexico and Canada announced that they'd finally start taking action to stop fentanyl flowing into the United States. And so the tariffs have been paused for a month. So I guess the world is kind of seeing the way Donald Trump works, how he's able to bring other countries to the negotiating table. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, look, I think that is how I see it. And he also claims it as a big political win, both against Canada and also Mexico. And I guess to some extent that's true. He threatened them with something and then they changed their behaviour. Well, at least they're saying that they're going to change their behaviour in some way. And of course, we saw the same just a week earlier with Colombia. Of course, he threatened them too, and they quickly changed their mind within 7 hours about accepting their citizens back. So I think we're going to see a pattern of this throughout his presidency. And let's hope Australia doesn't get brought into this, but maybe it will at some point. Who knows? He doesn't seem to really care much about tradition and about traditional alliances. That's part of the Trump phenomenon. It's a move away from that, from what a lot of politicians used to call the rules-based global order. Well, that is certainly over now. Trump doesn't really care anything for that. And I think you won't be hearing politicians talk about it anymore because it's too embarrassing.